for Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Affairs, Elizabeth Truss, and the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, Rafael Mariano Grossi. The President was accompanied by the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Madame Shirley Ayoko Boche, the Minister for Energy, Mr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, Dr. Kwekwe Friye, Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Mr. Samuel Abu-Jinapo, and officials of the Presidency and Foreign Ministry. The President will return to Ghana on Thursday, the 4th of November 2021. In his absence, the Vice President, Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia, shall, in accordance with Article 60, subsection 8 of the Constitution, act in his stead. Lack of furniture and textbooks at the Ebua District Assembly Basic School in the Pro West District of the Bono region is depopulating the school and affecting enrollment. The situation, the authorities say, is not encouraging. Our news team was in the school recently and reports that high on the priority list of the school is the urgent need to supply furniture and teaching aids.
What you see are scenes from Ebua District Assembly Basic School in Pro West in the Bono East region. It runs through all the classes from nursery to basic 4. Here is basic 5 under this summer hat. Madame Abiba Swale is the class teacher. The class of 40 had only 23 pupils on the day of our visit. 4 pupils share a dual desk. She was at her best on the day of our visit.
The children are not coming to school because of furniture. Because of this, they don't see the importance of education. They have taken it, maybe family is important than coming to the school. And the teachers, we are using this marker board, which cannot contain a lot. So we have to do small, teach them, maybe guide them, clean it, wait for them to do exercise. Maybe if you have 10 exercises, you have to write 3 or 2. Then later on you continue with it.
This mahogany tree separates basic 5 from basic 6. Basic 6 is under a 3. As the sun approaches, they have to relocate to a better shaded area.
Due to a lack of textbooks, we can't get books to teach them. Due to that, people are going to prime. When they go to prime, they have access to furniture. The appeal is to give us furniture.
Ebua Junior High School was established in 2017. The building indeed looks new, but on a closer look into the classrooms, the reality strikes you in the face.
Although we have a nice building, but we lack furniture and then the teaching aids. And then looking at the structure of the school, we don't have a fiscal challenge friendly this thing compound, and we have one fiscal challenge girl who is a final year student, and we want to plead with the government to come to our aid and then provide those things we lack.
Ebua DA Basic was established in 1999 and has a population of 502, whilst the junior high school has a population of 96. The community is a settler farming community noted for the cultivation of chili pepper and tubers. Peggy Amadonko, GBC News, Ebua.
The National Pension Regulatory Authority has climaxed its pension week with the opening of a zonal office in Tema. The new office is to decentralize operations of the authority.
The National Pension Regulatory Authority launched a nationwide pensions awareness week to ensure full participation of formal and informal sector workers in the National Pension Scheme and guaranteed their income security after retirement. As part of the campaign, various activities have taken place across the country. The climax of the National Pension Week was marked with the opening of an office at Tema. The Chief Executive of the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, Mr. Hayford Atakufi, said the office demonstrates authority's commitment to decentralize its activities and bring pensions administration closer to workers.
Compliance work is going to be very key in the work that we are going to do from these offices. We therefore encourage workers and prospective pension contributors to use this facility to request information on any employer, any trustee, any fund manager, or any custodian on any matters relating to their contributions and their retirement benefits.
The Deputy Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, Mr. Bright Rukubrobe, urged the authority to institute a regulatory body to protect pension funds.
Pension matters are very much burning. So the people who come to access information are people who are desperate. And therefore, in your training sessions for your staff, keep on highlighting the fact that we need to be extra patient when we are dealing with people who come to access our services.
According to the National Pension Regulatory Authority, total pension assets grew from 26.3 billion cedis in 2019 to 33.4 billion in 2020.
Right Reverend Stephen Kwekwosu has been inducted as a 6th Methodist Bishop of Kumasi. At an induction ceremony at the Wesley Methodist Cathedral, a former presiding bishop of the Methodist Church Ghana, Most Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante, called on ministers of the gospel to rise against ungodly acts. Right Reverend Stephen Owusu was born in July 1957. He hails from Kotote in the Offenso municipality of Ashanti, but grew up and commenced his basic education in 1963 at New Tafo Division School in Kumasi. He completed theological seminary with a diploma in 1991 and was commissioned as a minister of the Methodist Church Ghana that same year. Right Reverend Stephen Kwekwosu was later elected as Synod Secretary for the Kumasi Diocese and further became Superintendent Minister for the Wesley Cathedral at Idum in Kumasi. His induction as 6th Bishop of the Kumasi Diocese was attended by the national connectional leaders of the church, the clergy, traditional authorities, politicians, academia, family and friends. His induction was performed by the presiding bishop of the Methodist Church Ghana, Most Reverend Dr. Obuafo. In a sermon, a former presiding bishop of the church, Most Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante, was worried that some churches, particularly the Methodist family abroad, have sacrificed the tenets of the Bible for modernity.
Some of our churches in the world, Methodist family, have already sacrificed biblical objectivity for postmodernist subjective interpretation of the Bible. So we live in a postmodernist world that has sacrificed objectivity on the altar of subjective expediency.
The new Methodist Bishop of Kumasi, Right Reverend Stephen Kwekwosu, commended the leadership of the church for the confidence reposed in him.
I would want to concentrate a lot on the youth so that they will still live for the Lord. Say, I'm here more friendly here. A man over here, Basa, is a woman that she need us so. I wish, sir, a radibadum, a bayamadum, not yet me up a sword I can see. That goes beyond the Methodist Church, a building for Christ Church. I bet me, actually, I won't teach you. Na yetimi ne won akasa akyekire won.
This year's Catholic Bishops' Conference is scheduled to take place at Wa in the Upper West region. The week-long event will be attended by all the 27 archbishops and bishops of Ghana. Addressing the new conference at Wa, the Catholic Bishop of Wa Diocese, Most Reverend Richard Kuya Bawobre, said the plenary will discuss in depth the reality of COVID-19 pandemic, how it influences every person, and its impact on the mission's work to spread the good news to the world.
The theme of the plenary is Fraternity and COVID-19, opportunities and challenges in Ghana. This theme is inspired by the encyclical letter of Pope Francis issued on 3rd October 2020. Among other things, Pope Francis reflected on how the worldwide tragedy like the COVID-19 pandemic momentarily revived the sense that we are a global community, all in the same boat. One person's problems are the problems of all.
The Ghana Police Church has dedicated its new and expanded chapel with about 2,000 seating capacity at the Liberation Road in Accra. President Akufo-Addo was among dignitaries who graced the occasion.
May your presence, your Shekinah glory, fill this chapel.
In the name of the Ghana Police Church, Accra, we accept these keys in token of the trust committed to us. Let us now proceed with the dedication.
Open to me the gates of righteousness, and I will enter into it and praise the name of the Lord. Amen. Amen.
The remodeling of the Ghana Police Church Chapel is a third renovation and completes the master plan for the church's current location. It is the largest expansion in its 56-year history. The reshaping of the chapel became necessary as the 600-seating capacity of the previous chapel was inadequate due to the growing number of congregants over the years. After a proposal by the chaplain, Very Reverend ACP Frank D. Chumba, for a larger edifice of worship, a building committee was inaugurated in 2006 to oversee the completion of the project, which started in 2010 in 5 phases. The expanded chapel has a seating capacity of 1,230, an overflow seating capacity of 1,400, and a compromised capacity of about 2,000. It has a crucifix form with a round-up central space to give the auditorium a feeling of openness and a communal atmosphere. It has a number of symbolic elements, which include the body of Christ, the sealing cross, the choir, exploring the sanctuary, the altar, pulpit, lectern, and baptismal fronts. The chapel also has a multi-purpose meeting spaces, a 6-story office support building, and ancillary buildings such as a bookshop, snack, and security houses. At the dedication of the chapel, the moderator of the General Assembly of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana, Right Reverend J.O.Y. Mante, said Christians must uphold the church's spiritual purpose.
The church is established to help people reconnect to God. And that is why I want to beg Ghana Police Church in this beautiful edifice. When people come here, please make sure that church services are such that people's souls, people's hearts will be reconnected to God. Let's spend more time on spiritual matters when we come to church. Ours will be a better society if we allow the values of Jesus to be central to what our core social values are.
The Ghana Police Church hopes to continue with its mission to fulfill the mandate to make disciples by bringing everyone on board. Rachel Quarty, GBC News, Accra. To increase awareness on breast cancer and provide treatment and support for survivors, a fundraising ceremony has taken place in Accra. The initiative is also to educate people on early detection and treatment to save lives.
I went through a lot
chemo, and I have to go through the surgery. I woke up with one breastbone.
This is the story of a survivor of breast cancer. It is estimated that between 35,000 to 40,000 is required to treat breast cancer in Ghana, an amount majority of the sufferers are unable to raise. The Safe Haven Cancer Support Center, which is dedicated to providing basic and general information about breast cancer, is therefore raising funds to support survivors and to purchase mastectomy bras and prostheses, among others. Some survivors shared their story.
Whenever you see something in your breast, please don't sit down. I also went for help. That on later. Just go and check. Whatever it is, by the grace of God, everybody will survive. Don't let it be beyond before going.
A medical doctor with Safe Haven Support Center, Dr. Edmund Brakunyapa, said the NHIS covers the treatment of breast cancer and therefore advised people to seek early treatment.
If you know somebody who, by God's grace, has managed to detect it very early and is afraid because, look, where am I going to get the support? The government has made provision for you.
Some of the survivors received mastectomy bras.
Preparations are underway to climax the 60th anniversary celebration of the Navrongo Senior High School in the Upper East region. The school has lined up a series of activities for the celebration. Ahead of the week-long anniversary slated from the 1st to 6th of November, renovation works on the school's administration block, dormitories, classroom blocks and ICT laboratory have been completed. Artistic designs to beautify the environment have also been done. The students say they are optimistic of a successful anniversary celebration. They said the school is capable of producing a president for the nation.
Navrongo Senior High is one of the, let me say, the biggest schools in this Upper East and also the northern part of Ghana. It has produced many prominent citizens of Ghana.
For the past years, it has done a lot of things, produced a lot of people, and yet to produce. And we are hoping to put the first president from Nava School.
Everyone is warmly welcome. I pray that everyone who is from afar, the Lord will bring them here safe and sound, because there will be a lot of activities that will make them exciting, that will make them enjoy the lives of this.
The headmistress, Madame Mercy Babachua, said the old students have been supportive in the planning process. She said all is set for the commencement of activities for the anniversary celebration.
Painting has taken place, clearing has taken place. We have started rentals and all is set. The Vice President of the Republic of Ghana is going to be the special guest of honor.
The Ghana Girls Guide Association, as part of its centenary celebration, has inducted 8 patrons to help advance its drive to building and shaping the lives of girls and young women across the country. The association says this target group need more technical knowledge to bridge the gap of the computer world.
The Ghana Girl Guides Association was established in 1921 by late Mrs. Ofuate Kujo and is dedicated to empowering young girls and women to take up leadership positions in society. The association's centenary celebrations started in November last year on the theme 100 Years of Training, Transformation and Impacting the World Through Girl-Led Action. The climax of the celebrations will be in December 2021. A number of activities have been held as part of the celebration. The latest program is the induction of patrons at their training center in Accra. The patrons include Director of Human Resources at the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources, Mrs. Jennifer Boabeng, Technical Advisor to the Minister of Education, Dr. Perpetual Ajimai, Assistant Headmistress of Achimota School, Madam Lydia Bante, and Chief Executive of Shigrosit, Dr. Ashley Milton. The rest are a representative from Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, Mrs. Barbara Fiye Wusu, a research fellow, Department of Public Health, Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research, Dr. Mary Coleman, a Kwansrehine of Gomwa Chimpin Traditional Area, and Obatan Hima of Gomwa Achimfo Nana Kuiku Akonwa, and the proprietor of Edlis Montessori, Mrs. Lydia Adote. Speaking after their induction, the Director of Human Resources at the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources, Mrs. Jennifer Boabeng, and a research fellow at the Department of Public Health, Noguchi Memorial Institute, Dr. Mary Coleman, challenged other patrons to give up their best to push the Girl Guides agenda forward. The Chief Commissioner of the Ghana Girl Guides, Mrs. Zakia Abdul Wahab, said the agenda now is to equip the girls and young women with skills which will empower them to be agents of change.
We have grown our membership through our partnership with Ghana Education Service, granting us permission to engage with all government schools in Ghana through the Girl Child Education Program.
The Ghana Girl Guides Association is working to train some headquarters with skills that will see them managing their own businesses soon.
It is being reported that scores of Ghanaian families residents in Benin are stranded following a demolition exercise by the Beninois authorities. These Ghanaian families live in the suburbs of the capital Cotonou and towns along the beaches. Some have lived there for more than 70 years. Reports suggest that the land has been given out to investors for redevelopment, and this has resulted in the demolition exercise to pave the way. The victims are now stranded and living in the open on the beaches. It is the wishes of residents in Tachima and Zango in the Bono East region for the Municipal Assembly to relocate their public refuse containers to their original location. They are appealing for this or an increase in the number of containers from 3 to 10. Their complaint is that the current 3 containers are not enough, and the delay in collection poses a health hazard to the people in the community.
Tachima and Zango is a multilingual area and classified into Dagomba Line, Mamprusi Line, Wangara Line, among others. It is a densely populated enclave in the Bono East regional capital. This refuse dump, sitting between 3 public toilets right in the middle of the community, is one of the main refuse dumps in Tachima and Zango. The dump site is gradually taking over the area and getting into homes. Residents say it's been almost 3 months now with no sign from the assembly to clear the heap, which can trigger a major health problem. At the time of our visit, people were still dumping refuse here, even though the containers were full and overflowing.
Ekonya babi tugu na ba na sen na zongo bola de munya babi amokotu agu se kana abefa na sayo se babi amokotu agu na ayeden o se bia ha no sika bi na so mu no munti o menti ase obia sore a ha na ode ne bola ba nti amatem bia no etufa yeso yaya bre akasa bre ba entimi mpamo ni pese for bola kofi gise ode beba.
The request is for immediately they should just reposition the container back to where it belongs, so that at least the people here will get some space to breathe.
Because I'm on 40 to how you say, be a Adriana Bolans, and you're fine.
Gasawuro, Gawari, Ya Ishemu Ngua,
kuma gidan ga muna nan ma wani na iya daura bola kayan ku tashi da safe an tun a ajiye cikin polet ba wurin da za a zuba bola wurin da ake zuba bola wai lorin bai iya ce wurin don shi kwantena uku ke ajiyan ga duka ya cika yau wurin kamar wata 2 kenan za mu 3 ana dai zubawa ne kasa don ba ya bar shi gida to yanzu dai taimakon gwamnati muke bida uku bai iya save mu
donation inte kasa na ya modify containers no asa containers so do so na nka kasa na do so nti wewa area ha no na we so area ha on dia me kire no ba kasa no di ho techima ayemie no se miasa nti asaya na container na ma na esi ho.
Residents are appealing that the containers be either relocated or numbers increased. Peggy Amadonko, GBC News, Techima Zango.
We are back after this break. Please do stay.
It's a good morning and we serve you breakfast.
Not just any breakfast.
Sizzling helping.
And there's much more on offer on GTV Breakfast.
So what's your pleasure than Votras here at the time of the morning?
You want it served buffet style, complimentary breakfast?
On-site restaurant.
Or room service.
We've got you covered.
From Monday to Friday at 6 a.m.
With a trusted team.
So never skip breakfast.
On GTV Breakfast.
They are gathered from farmlands and forests and towns. The Vasco is 60 years old. Hooray! Navrongo Senior High School, in conjunction with all Navascans, Nabia, invites you to the 60th anniversary celebration of the school. Theme, sustaining 60 years of quality education in Navasco. The role of stakeholders. Date 1st to 7th November 2021, and the climax will be 6th November 2021. Venue, the premises of Navrongo Senior High School. Special guest of honor, His Excellency Dr. Alhaji Mahmudu Baumia, Vice President of the Republic of Ghana. Also in attendance, Minister of Education, Director General of Ghana Education Service, chiefs, opinion leaders, and many other dignitaries. All students, well wishers, and the general public are cordially invited to celebrate with Navasco. Navasco is 60 years and it is worth celebrating. Be reminded that all COVID-19 safety protocols will be strictly observed.
2006.
Global wealth has grown overall, but at the expense of future prosperity and by exacerbating inequalities, according to the World Bank's new Changing Wealth of Nations report. In sub-Saharan Africa, wealth per capita has increased over the past 2 decades, but at a lower rate than other regions. 11 countries in sub-Saharan Africa saw staggering or even declining wealth per capita between 1995 and 2018 as population growth outpaced net growth in asset values.
The report indicated that human capital in sub-Saharan Africa has increased more rapidly than any other asset. However, this growth has been unequal and the female share of human capital is only about 1/3 of the total. Wealth in natural capital has been declining and many countries in the region have a high dependence on non-renewable natural resource revenues, especially from fossil fuels. As of 2018, the East Asia and the Pacific region had the largest share of wealth in the world, with a 188% increase since 1995. Human capital makes up over half of the region's wealth. However, only about 1/3 of human capital was attributed to women. In South Asia, total wealth has grown since 1995, but this is due to population growth in the same time period. In South Asia, total wealth has grown since 1995, but due to population growth in the same time period and per capita wealth remaining among the lowest in the world. Human capital makes up over half of the region's wealth, but is extremely unbalanced, with over 80% attributed to men, with little change in the past 2 decades. Wealth in Europe and Central Asia has increased by 45% since 1995. Wealth per capita has also grown slowly compared with many other regions, Latin America and the Caribbean, over the past 2 decades. There are significant contrasts in the trends of wealth per capita. Some countries have more than doubled their wealth since 1995, while in several Caribbean countries, total wealth per capita has declined. Wealth has also increased in the Middle East and North Africa in the past 2 decades, but to a lesser extent than the regional GDP over the same period. Human capital makes up the lowest share of total wealth in this region compared to other regions with a significant gender imbalance. The region will need to preserve and restore its renewable natural assets to support greater diversification of wealth.
The Don Bosco Technical Institute Ghana and Invest for Jobs, an initiative of GIZ, has opened kick-off job fair in Accra. The fair is to facilitate discussions with the private sector and industry players on how training institutions can equip the youth with employable skills that meet industry needs.
In Ghana, Technical and Vocational Education and Training, TVET, is a major facilitator of skills development. The informal sector hosts a range of economically active population who usually gain their skills through traditional apprenticeship with the traditional vocational training system that ensure employment for over 90% of the Ghanaian workforce. The Invest for Jobs and Don Bosco Corporation since inception have trained 205 people, with Don Bosco offering a short-term training and placement services in the areas of automobile, electrical and electronics, hospitality, logistics and warehousing. The acting component leader, cluster focus of GIS Ghana Special Initiative, Madame Diana Krieger, said €1 million was invested into the project to empower the youth with employable skills. The principal, Don Bosco Tech Ghana, Reverend Father Mark Ishen, said the project provides hands-on training to empower the youth with market-oriented skills and upskill the skills of older workers.
It is a specific training we want to give, but we don't want the students to remain there. As we give this training, we expect them to deepen their own further education, either by continuing from here or continuing from other places else. So we give them the necessary tools so that when they go out, they can build upon these tools as they go on with their own activities.
Some students who participated in the fair spoke to GBC News.
I have been able to achieve a better standard. I've improved in my career.
What I want those in the lifting industry, those learning, especially the forklift, they must learn also the man lift, crane, and other. They should not be only focused on whatever they have learned here. They must try as much as possible to be versatile in whatever they do.
GIZ says its objective is to train 2,000 individuals and connect 70% of the participants with local industries by the end of 2022. The kick-off job fair is on the theme Youth Employment, Bridging the Industry Education Skills Gap.
The Industrial and Commercial Workers Union has called on the government to ensure that the casual and temporary workers' tendencies are abolished in the country. The ICU made the call when it marked the Well Precarious Month in October.
Precarious work is work that does not give equal pay for equal work, does not give opportunity for personal development, denies workers medical facility, work that deprives the workers of future financial security like social insurance and other benefits like personal loan, rent advance and car loans. The month of October has been dedicated for the observance of precarious work worldwide every year. On this occasion, labor unions expose and emphasize on the evils of precarious work which some organizations and employers practice under the guise of outsourcing. According to the ICU, some of these precarious workers are not paid through the mainstream payroll and are denied the Tier 1, Tier 2 and Tier 3 benefits, thus jeopardizing their future financial security. The ICU says government also loses tax revenue from these workers since no tax deduction is made from their pay. The union says the menace of precarious work to this class of workers and its ramifications on tax revenue to the government is quite obvious. To this end, the ICU has called for the Labour Act to be amended to address concerns associated with precarious work in the country, which have been raised by the ICU over the years.
The international news is next shortly after this break. The highly anticipated COP26 Climate Change Summit begins later today in the Scottish city of Glasgow. Delegates from about 200 countries will be there to announce how they will cut emissions by 2030 and help the planet. With the world warming because of fossil fuel emissions caused by humans, scientists warn that urgent action is needed to avoid a climate catastrophe.
COP26 President Alok Sharma said agreement will be tougher than what was achieved in Paris 5 years ago when almost all the world's nations agreed on a treaty to pursue efforts to limit the global temperature rise to 1.5 Celsius. Day one will see a report on the state of the climate released by the World Meteorological Organization. The WMO's provisional report by climate scientists will compare global temperatures this year so far with previous years. Extreme weather events linked to climate change, including heat waves, floods and forest fires, are intensifying. The past decade was the warmest on record, and governments agree urgent collective action is needed. Countries from every region of the world will have representatives in Glasgow ready to discuss their plans to cut emissions by 2030. They all agreed in 2015 to make changes to keep global warming well below 2 Celsius above pre-industrial levels. But since then, as extreme weather events have intensified, climate scientists have urged nations to aim at 1.5 Celsius to limit the risks of environmental disaster. At the G20 in Rome, a draft communique said the leaders will pledge to take urgent steps to reach those goals, but already a key pledge to deliver $100 billion a year in climate finance to developing countries has been pushed out to 2023. The United Nations gathering is one of the biggest summits the UK has ever hosted and was delayed for a year because of the pandemic. COP stands for Conference of the Parties, and it is the 26th of such conference. Most of the leaders will arrive late this evening. Many are traveling from another summit, the G20 in Rome.
Sudan's security forces have fired live rounds and tear gas at pro-democracy protesters, killing at least 3 people. Thousands marched in the capital Khartoum and other cities on Saturday, demanding the reinstatement of the ousted Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok. The Interior Ministry denied that live rounds had been fired. Activists say around 100 people were injured.
Coup leader General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan dissolved civilian rule last week. The general, who also called a state of emergency, said his actions were justified to avoid civil war and stop political infighting. The military takeover has drawn widespread international condemnation. Demonstrators in Khartoum were seen marching with Sudanese flags and chanting, "No to military rule." Sudan's Central Doctors Committee, an independent body, said 3 protesters had died after being shot by live bullets in Omdurman. But the Interior Ministry denied the use of live rounds and accused some protesters of attacking the police. More than 10 protesters have died in clashes with security forces this week. The Sudanese authorities have cut off the internet and other communications, as well as imposing restrictions on movement. Until Monday's coup, civilian and military leaders had been in an easy power-sharing agreement since longtime ruler Omar al-Bashir was overthrown in 2019. The deal was designed to steer Sudan towards democracy, but it proved to be fragile with a number of previous coup attempts, the last just over a month ago. General Burhan, who was head of Power Sharing Council, says Sudan was still committed to the transition to civilian rule with elections planned for July 2023.
Voters in Japan are casting ballots in the general election, seen as test for Prime Minister Fumio Kishida and his long-running Conservative Party, which has been battered by its perceived mishandling of the coronavirus pandemic. Up for grabs in Sunday's votes are 465 seats in the lower house.
Prime Minister Kishida replaced the unpopular Yoshihide Suga, called the election soon after taking the top vote earlier this month. The 64-year-old has pledged to issue a fresh stimulus package worth tens of trillions of yen to counter the effects of the pandemic and promised to distribute wealth more fairly under so-called new capitalism. The ruling LDP is on the brink of losing its sole majority in the lower house of parliament for the first time since 2019, according to opinion polls. The campaign has largely centered on COVID-19 response measures and revitalizing the economy, and many voters in Tokyo said that the virus crisis was an important factor in their decision. The biggest opposition group, the Constitutional Democratic Party of Japan, which has formed a united front with 4 other parties, is expected to gain seats but not come near toppling Prime Minister Kishida's coalition. Voting ends at 8 p.m. with projected results likely to come soon afterwards from media exit polls.
At least 9 people have died in a car bombing near an airport in Yemen's temporary capital, Aden. Another 12 people are believed to have been injured in the explosion described as a terrorist bombing by Prime Minister Muin Abdul Malik Said.
Eyewitnesses say women and children are among the casualties. So far, no one has claimed responsibility. The attack coincided with the arrival of Aden's former governor at the airport. He is unhurt. The current governor was himself a target of car bombing 3 weeks ago, which left another 6 people dead. The bombing is the deadliest attack in the city since at least 22 people were killed at the same airport last December. The country's internationally recognized government have been based in Aden since 2014, when Houthi rebels forced them from the capital, Sana'a. The conflict escalated in 2015 when a Saudi-led coalition of Arab states launched a military operation to defeat the Houthis and restore President Abdrabbuh Mansour Hadi's rule. The fighting has reportedly left more than 110,000 people dead, triggered the world's most humanitarian disaster with millions on the brink of famine, and left the country even more vulnerable to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Sports is next.